So, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? Most people have heard of the famous Roman rulers like Julius Caesar, Augustus, Caligula, and Nero, but before Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, before he declared himself dictator for life, there were men who laid the foundation for the tyranny of those famous rulers. Men who bent the rules, silenced enemies, brought about civil war, and with the precedents they set, ensured the fall of mighty Rome. And perhaps the fall of many empires throughout history. This is the story of Rome's forgotten rulers. In the 2nd century BC, the Roman Republic was a superpower, transforming from a regional power to a dominant force in the Mediterranean. But it was also starting to crack under pressure with corruption in the Senate, economic issues, land disputes, and an over-reliance on military glory that strained the political system. Out of this chaos emerged a new kind of Roman politician, not bound by tradition, but driven by personal ambition. Two brothers tried to fix this concerning development. Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, tribunes of the people, or the plebeians, who pushed for policies that went against the aristocracy. The elder brother, Tiberius, was assassinated by a group of senators led by his cousin, who was Pontifex Maximus, in 133 BC. Gaius Gracchus was killed in a riot orchestrated by his political enemies when he ordered his slave to stab him to death under the threat of the mob. Following the massacre, another 3,000 of the Gracchus supporters are believed to have been arrested, taken to jail, and strangled. The demise of Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus marked a turning point. Roman politics had become a blood sport, and it sent shockwaves through the entire structure of the Roman state, waves that would be felt for generations. Rome began to think in terms of political right and left, dividing into two factions, the optimates and the populares, essentially the elites versus everybody else. The label populares meant individuals who sought popular support for their political goals, often through policies aimed at the common people. Optimates, on the other hand, favored the authority of the Senate and traditional aristocratic rule. Sound familiar? Another critical change in Rome came from Gaius Marius, a man of humble birth who became Rome's most celebrated general and consul 7 times. Marius reformed the Roman army by allowing landless citizens to join. This gave rise to the client army, soldiers who were not loyal to the Senate, but to their general. He also set a new standard: ignore tradition, take power by force if needed, and let military strength define politics. This opened a very dangerous door in Rome, but his strength drew the interest of a rival, one even more ruthless. Born in 138 BC, Lucius Cornelius Sulla wasn't expected to rise far. He wasn't rich, he wasn't from an elite branch of his family, but Sulla had one key trait: ambition fueled by ruthlessness. He served under Gaius Marius during the Jugurthine War, but soon student and teacher became bitter rivals. Sulla gained fame in the War of the Allies, which was a conflict in ancient Rome fought from 91 to 88 BC. It pitted Rome against many of its Italian allies who were demanding full Roman citizenship and rights. Sulla, who was at the time a very prominent general, played a key role in suppressing the revolt and was given command to fight Mithridates VI of Pontus, one of Rome's greatest historical enemies and a figure who deserves his own episode, especially if you know anything about his relationship with poison. But anyway, Marius wanted to take the glory from Sulla and use political tricks to take command away from him. Sulla's response? He did what no Roman general had ever done before. In 88 BC, he marched on Rome with his own army. It shocked the Republic, but it worked. Sulla seized power, drove Marius into exile, and rewrote the rules. And even rewrote his own name, giving himself the nickname Felix. If you know your Latin, you know that Felix means lucky. He chose this nickname because he claimed the gods favored him. And if you look at how much he accomplished, you can see why he thought that. But his fortune is one that came soaked in blood. Sulla's most infamous legacy was the proscriptions, public kill lists posted in the Forum. These were names of people Sulla considered enemies of the state. Once you were on the list, it was open season on your head, literally. There was no trial, no appeal, anyone could kill you, and they were rewarded for doing it. Heads were brought in for bounties, properties were confiscated, sons were disinherited, your family was disgraced, and anyone associated with you was in danger. Thousands died, including his personal rivals and even senators. Many were targeted not for treason, but for their wealth. A common theme throughout history, and if I ever make a video on the Salem witch trials, I'll show you a great example of a narrative being spun for simple greed. So, proscription lists were a tool for murder and profit, not to restore the Republic as Sulla claimed. In truth, it helped him rule as a dictator with absolute power. Sulla eventually resigned his dictatorship in 79 BC, but the damage was done. The Republic had learned a dangerous lesson. Power is taken, not given. Armies are loyal to generals, not Rome, and violence is a political tool. Sound familiar? You might be thinking of dictators throughout history who seized power with social movements and military might, the same military that always overthrows a dictator in the end. But this playbook was repeated in just a few decades after Sulla, when Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon in 49 BC. Like Sulla, he made a name for himself militarily. Like Sulla, he defied Senate orders. Like Sulla, he marched on Rome, and like Sulla, he used civil war to gain control. Even Caesar's title, Dictator Perpetuo, echoed Sulla's example, but taken one step further, dictator for life. The people we talked about today weren't the only figures in Rome who contributed to its demise. There are many other interesting characters, and I could make more episodes about them if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing. To me, Sulla is one of the most fascinating characters in history. And because of Caesar, he's strangely forgotten. He didn't just break the Republic's laws, he taught others how to do it. He set precedents that would be repeated throughout all of history in many nations. His dictatorship was a prototype, and his proscription showed Rome, and every nation since, that power didn't come from elections. True power came from fear. And powerful people throughout history tend to wield fear as much as it is tolerated. They look at what other powerful people get away with and copy it for themselves. If you pay attention to the news, you can occasionally see trends in tyranny. One leader will take away a freedom, and others will follow. And unfortunately, there's no shortage of ideas they can borrow from today or the past. History often remembers Julius Caesar as the man who killed the Republic, but the truth is that it had been dying for decades, incrementally. We often think that one major event or one bad leader can destroy a great nation, and that does happen, but more often empires slowly decay over time as the principles that created that empire in the first place are eroded by tolerating or even encouraging one bad idea after another until eventually a tipping point occurs and everything comes spiraling down. And that inflection point is what everyone remembers. But it's important to study the buildup to understand how to avoid it in the first place. It's like what Hemingway wrote about bankruptcy in The Sun Also Rises. How did you go bankrupt? 2 ways, gradually, then suddenly. Freedom is a fragile thing, and the present can be a frustrating place for anyone who has read history because, as it has been said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. I personally think human nature never really changes. We constantly make the same mistakes because we've always had the same flaws. And if we accept them, we may just be able to manage them. Thank you so much for watching today. If you found this topic fascinating, please give this video a like, leave a comment. I'd love to know your thoughts and what historical figures and events you find interesting, or what we can learn from the past that applies today. And please share it with somebody who enjoys history and thinks about the Roman Empire every day like I do. and it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe. This is a new channel, and I'm making a lot of videos about what I find interesting, and I hope to find people who wonder about the same things that I do and have great discussions that shape our thinking. So please follow along, say hi, and let's figure this stuff out together. And if you'd like to keep up with the show, follow us on social media, or check out our website, you can do so at bradthoughts.com, where we have our production calendar and links to everything all in one place. Plus, you can submit your favorite subjects to potentially have them made into an episode. And lastly, if you'd like to support the show and help us take our content to the next level, you can become a Patreon member for exclusive perks starting at just a few bucks a month. Or you can pick up something from my personal line of clothing, Dagger of Truth, at daggeroftruth.com. See below for links to everything, and make sure to check out our upcoming videos. You never know what I'm going to dive into next. Thank you again so much for watching. Until next time, keep going.